So sometimes we get delusions of grandeur. Sometimes it's trading for a monumental contract, thinking I can build around this. Sometimes it's just as small as trading away future picks. For me, the thing I bit off that was too big today was the idea that we were going to talk about the Brock Purdy situation, that we were going to talk about power ranks before the draft starts, and then we were going to talk about all the trades since last week. That was a good idea in my head up until about 2 minutes ago when I realized that we've had 51 trades since last week's pod. So we're going to just start going through the trades and see what happens. And if we have some gas left over at the end to talk power ranks, we'll keep going. Otherwise, we'll save that for next week. Anyway, we've got the Eagles and Broncos on too. Gentlemen, thank you for taking this 3-hour cruise with me.
No problem.
Yeah, it's been an interesting week.
Yep, for certain. So, as mentioned, there was a bit of a round the Brock Purdy in 6 days that has hopefully come to a close for now, but we'll touch on that as we go through these trades. 52 trades since the last pod. And then if we have time near the end, we'll start talking about some of the pre-draft power ranks. But we'll definitely make sure between this week and next week we cover each of those tiers respectively. So we'll start with the last trade since last week. Damari Mathis dumped to me from Eagle from the $2 million corner who is currently on my taxi squad. Sticking with the contract dump, taking a future fourth to the Browns to dump the Kenny Pickett contract, all $7 million of it. Funny how that went from an asset to a cap dump in a real hurry. Titans flopping Jordan Davis in a mid-third for Okudah and a early third. I feel like we're just going to keep seeing different valuations on corners this year.
Yeah. I don't understand the pricing other than people had a bunch of money. The points don't change.
Yeah, I mean, you have to start two now, I guess. So I guess maybe people are trying to not have to, I guess, roster more, but who knows? First big trade of substance, we've got Michael Pittman flying off of the Broncos for Chris Tonga, 204, and the Texans 25 first. Bill, as you were one of the teams in this trade, you want to talk through what you were looking for here?
I mean, I decided to do a little bit of a teardown. I was hoping to get a current year first, but I figured that at the end of the day, a first is a first. And the 204 was genuinely appealing in that deal. I was hoping to get a 1 and a 2, especially putting it out to next year. But yeah, it was pretty good. And it's not always the easiest thing to get Texans to agree on wide receiver value.
Yeah, I love what he gets there. I think Pittman's one of those guys that he's not looked at as wide receiver one, but he's in that next tier. And if he actually gets a full season with Richardson, God help us. But I mean, he's almost like the Mike Evans. Like he's the, and I use that. I realize I'm overusing that that comparison, but he just consistently puts up good numbers and never seems to get credit for it. Like in his 4 years, 503 in one in his rookie year, then over 1,006, 925 in 4, 1150 in 4, and has consistently seen 130ish plus targets. So not a bad thing, but again, I understand if you're rebuilding, that's what you got to do. These are the kind of trades you got to make. Let's see. 429 for 515 and 519. Some consolidation there with Bucks and Dolphins. 522 for Westbrook Inkene from Browns. Bears buying some undervalued assets for fifth-round picks. Just rolling the dice. Ravens picking up A.T. Perry and Jamian Sherwood for the 227. And then another big swap here as Bill continues his teardown. Trey McBride for Rashee Rice and 3 4th-round picks. Bill, were the 3 4th-round picks a sticking point?
So I was trying to get a third, but he didn't have it. So I just was like, you know what? Give me the 4s. Let's do it. So no, not a sticking point. Just happy circumstances.
And then continuing your accumulation of 25 picks, sending Rashee Rice, newly acquired, and John Kaminsky to me for my first, my second, and 3 25/5ths next year. Do continue to accumulate first, and I love me some Rashee Rice. I think he, if I was to put him in this class, I would put him at wide receiver 3.5. So call that, 106, 107 value. So if I can lock that in for my first and second next year, even if I suck, I don't think I'm going to be a bottom 5 team. I got to get the value now and get the gamble on the upside. And Bill, you just get to accumulate more shit.
Yeah, that's all it is. It's accumulation. I thought it was interesting that Rashee left so quickly. I mean, I had him for 2.5 hours.
Yep. Well, again, I can't remember. Does the timestamp, is that when the trade is agreed to, or is that when the trade gets processed?
I think that's processed.
Okay, so I think a good portion of this is because it didn't get processed because commissioners were busy or hating life last week. We love you, Jeremy. And in the same processing, I pick up Rashee Rice, but I also moved the 113 and the 210 to Pats for JSN and 304. So I went from having no young good receivers to 2 young good receivers in 6 seconds. Good use of 6 seconds for me, I think.
I like that price for Jackson. Yeah. And the Rashee Rice one's a little steep for my liking.
The 5ths, too much.
Just a first and a second is rough. I don't know. I may be kind of down on just receiving options in Kansas City.
No, I mean he's not like a true one. He's just the one this year because of what they have.
Yeah. There's always going to be one that stands out in Kansas City, but I think some of the time it'll be by necessity rather than that person just actually being the one.
Yeah.
So I worry about replicating this. I will laugh at myself when the Trey McBride trade went down. I saw Rashee Rice, but my brain went to Sky Moore, and I was like, that might be the worst trade I've ever seen. I quickly realized it was me that was wrong, but just it gave me a nice laugh.
Oh man,
yeah, Sky would have been interesting.
I did buy Sky Moore for my 24 first with Christian Barmore and I think maybe one more thing, but this will be the second time I've bought a Kansas City receiver coming off of their rookie year with my future first-round pick. So we'll see what happens. Maybe it'll be more successful this time.
I hope this one works out.
Let's see. Moving right along, 326 for 418 and a future 4th. Dolphins at this point must have 30, 25 picks.
I think he has more than that.
He's got quite a few. He's going to have to push to 26.
Yeah. He's going to create a real year issue on his team.
Have fun, buddy.
It's all cool, like getting those picks. They look really cool when you look at the when you look at the amount.
You just have the long list.
Yep. Until you start having to make some of those picks, and you quickly get into like cap hell, and then you realize, oh, I kicked the can down the road on another half of these, so we're going to be playing the same cap hell next year.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, balls.
Oh no, I have $60 million in free cap, but I couldn't even bring on a 1-year guy.
Then back to the craziness. Bill moving a top quarterback for Mac Jones, Jordan Addison, Chase Claypool, 117, the Steelers 25 first, and the Cowboys 25 third. Nice breakdown of an elite quarterback. He just got a set of these assets for Trevor Lawrence, so it essentially comes out to Trevor Lawrence plus Jordan Addison for Jalen Hurts. I think everyone gets the piece that they want at the end of this.
Mm-hmm.
I hate it, but it's a good deal.
Of course you hate it. It's your division.
Exactly.
It's tough being RJ. Every time he tries to position from the build to the win, we make the rest of his division better. So I'm sorry. This is partially our fault. Speaking of things I'm sorry for, I did spend a good portion of the last podcast and previous conversations saying I was acquiring Brock Purdy because I had a plan. I was going to build around him, and this was purposeful, and everyone needs to calm their shit down. Then I woke up on Wednesday morning and said, you know what would be interesting? I wonder. Cardinals has a lot of big contracts on his team, and he has, a kind of pivot to next year plan. Would he take a bunch of late firsts and Brock Purdy for, some of those big contracts, some of them being very valuable players? So I sent him out there. And then he said yes. And anyone who was in chat at the time saw that I immediately cursed and said, oh, fuck me.
Were you hoping he would say no?
I just I thought he would counter, or he would just, it would either be a no or a counter or a conversation starter. I didn't think it'd just be okay, sure, let's do that.
I love it. Giants is also on.
It's so good.
So I could nitpick and be like, oh, maybe it's like a 128 too much or something like that. But I don't know. I love everything about it. I think it's hilarious that you traded off 1 million picks, reacquired 1 million picks, traded them off again, and now are we at the third time that you have 1 million picks in the first round?
Well,
but they keep getting better.
Yeah, we'll get to those trades later on, but spoiler, Mike still has the same quantity of first round picks, and they're better now.
I think the best part about this is you got Josh Allen and Mark Andrews, and he still gave up more pieces than you did.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the rest of those pieces are pretty questionable, but I love the Josh Allen part of it.
It's so hilarious. Oh, man. I immediately saw this, and I was like, there goes my first next year. Oh, man.
Again, this is one of those like, hey, I wonder, and then it happened. And again, as mentioned, now Cardinals had, I think, what I was saying, I was aiming for 12 or 13 picks in the top 60. I think he may have had 10 to 12 picks in the top 45 or 50 or something like that. He had an incredible amount of early capital at that point, plus Brock Purdy. So I'm thinking to myself, he's just going to pick, he's going to build, and he's going to have himself a nice little team to build around. So his next trade, moving 23 and 31 to get it to 13 with Pats. We have a cap dump of Yasir Abdullah and Jay Ward to the Colts from the Panthers before the Panthers turn around and flip Jonathan Taylor to the Saints for Jahan Dotson. The contract dump that is Justin Simmons and the 112. First consolidation trade I think we've seen Saints make here, but a valuable pivot for him to make. Now he has that legit running back one that he needed also.
Yep. Yeah, definitely a good move. Pretty good deal for the Panthers too.
yeah, considering he was able to just dump Simmons on 49ers in the next trade for nothing, I thought he was at least going to have to move a fifth or something to get him to eat it. But, assuming he signs someplace solid, $7.5 million might not be the worst for him.
Yeah.
Bill continues tearing down. Carl Granderson for John Franklin Myers and Daniel Jones. Man, if Daniel Jones goes into week 1 as the actual starter, no one's going to have a more rocky offseason than he did. I feel like, there was coming into last season, he was probably a not studly quarterback by any shape or form, but maybe requiring a top half of the first round, a non-playoff first to go get it. Now it's okay, can I upgrade from a DE3 to a DE1/2? This
was much more of Chris just being like, please just take Daniel Jones away from me. Like that. And that's what it ended up being here. But
I just think this shows that you guys are all still sick and broken, and you guys have some weird value with Carl Granderson. I don't. This trade confuses me so much.
Like I said, it was Chris wanting to get rid of Daniel. I mean, it's interesting because reports just came out that as soon as he's healthy, he's going to be the guy this year.
I mean, they've been saying that all year.
Sure.
But there's also like a shit ton of smoke about quarterback in the draft.
Yeah. But I mean, are they going to be the ones that trade up? I don't know.
Well, I think it's possible.
They're going to want to trade up. If they can get one of the big four, I think they will do it. I think they've got to hedge their bets. They want to pull a Russ Wilson with Daniel Jones so bad because of his potential next year guaranteeing if he gets hurt.
Yes.
I think as soon as they have a viable number 2 or a viable long-term starter to go with Drew Lock, he is going to get Russell Wilson and basically told, you're asking me to sit on the bench or you can figure out a way that we can release you right now. But there is no chance in hell you're touching the field and potentially getting injured.
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of chatter, too much chatter about how they want to move on from Jones for it to not be something they're going to be exploring in the draft. And even the Giants brass all had interviews today, and Mara was like pretty open about like, I'm not going to get in the way. Like he was like supporting of Daniel Jones, but also like, I'm not going to get in the way if the regime wants to draft a quarterback at 6 or first round or whatever.
Yeah, isn't it feel like fiscally irresponsible of them to get rid of him this year? Like they have to wait till next year.
They would probably just. I mean, they could explore a trade, I guess, if someone like misses out on a quarterback in the draft and is like, "Well, shit, we'll take 1 year of guarantees on him," or they just, he's just like the backup, or they draft someone that they're like, "We're okay if he sits for like half the season," and they play Jones for half the season until they deem the guy ready. But the guy could end up being ready at like training camp. Who knows?
Right.
I feel like if like as a Giants fan, like I would say like 70% we're taking a quarterback, or possibly trading up for one, and then 30% taking a receiver.
Yeah,
we'll find out.
So continuing on, Cardinals consolidating some of those end of first, early second picks that he just got a boatload of. 28, 203, and 211 for 112. So continuing to consolidate. Bills moving Tyson Campbell, his 2 and his 5 next year for Alex Singleton and Eli Apple. Bucks have been trying to move off of Singleton and gets that second plus value that he was looking for. So everybody wins. 128 for Jeff Wilson and Wan'Dale Robinson. That's either going to be a great deal or a terrible one.
Feels like a steal for Chiefs.
Yeah.
I like Wando, honestly. I think he's.
Do you like him better than the 28th best player in this draft?
I mean, is that going to be Jaden Reed or is that going to be I don't know who the hell was another
I
Cedric
don't
Tillman. Like, I mean,
I'll
it's
take
such a crapshoot at the end of the first round.
I'll take any of them over Wandale.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, even if the Giants go receiver, I think Wandale is like, I mean, he's their slot player. And if there's another receiver and Hyatt stretching the field, like whatever whatever his like per game stats have been, I think will likely continue for games he's actually playing. His problem is availability.
No, we'll see. Again, I think he's gonna. If things go how I think they're going to go in New York, Wandale is going to be that wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, 3 or 4 weeks, and then wide receiver 0, the other 10. But if those are the right weeks, could be worth it just on that alone. Donta Foreman seems to keep getting jobs and gets moved here for the 429. And then, as mentioned, thought I moved Purdy to Cardinals, and he was going to build with him. It was going to be, he's got his big contract, he's got a bunch of future picks, he's going to have the right value of low-cost, high-year rookies with a high-cost, couple-of-year quarterback, and they're going to balance themselves out as he builds out his team. And then he said, fuck that, and traded to the Giants. Taysom Hill, Keenan Allen, Braxton Berrios, Kendrick Bourne, Brandon Graham, Malik Henderson, Shaq Leonard, the 132 for Brock Purdy. Literally all of the pieces he's been trying to cap dump or get a 4th-round pick for in the last 3 weeks in the 132 and Keenan Allen for Brock Purdy.
Yeah, I was going to say, hold on. Keenan Allen's not nothing, but yeah. Look, I thought that was a pretty good deal until I saw what Bears ended up doing.
I mean, I thought that was a good deal until I saw what you gave it up for.
Like, I love this. When I saw this, I was like, oh my God, Cardinals flipped this whole team around in less than a day. And it was just incredible. And then we continue on.
So the things of value, in my opinion, are 132 Keenan Allen, Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill isn't worth a whole lot. I don't know. Let's call it like third. That sounds reasonable. Allen, probably a second-ish. And then 132. The rest of them, throw them together, what are they worth? Like a second or a third, maybe?
You're
So
pricing Purdy around the 118 to 120.
Yep, and I think that's perfectly fine. I mean, it probably a little bit low, but
I don't know. Purdy's salary kills his value quite a bit.
it really does.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and I think my thinking on this was more of me just like getting a starting quarterback so that I could try and get a different starting quarterback.
Yeah, and you shed a bunch of things that on your team were of no value. So I agree with that. And to somebody else, they are of value, and they are players that can be, end of roster or depth pieces. So that it's perfectly fine. But that was a perfect trade just to, whoever sells Purdy walks away feeling really good because they got a bunch of things that they can use, and whoever bought Purdy feels really good because they got rid of a bunch of things that they couldn't use.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if the rest of the Purdy trades are like that, but we'll get to them.
You sure know a lot about Purdy trades for someone who hasn't made one yet.
I've no interest.
Neither do I. All right, so Browns taking Kenny Pickett from I need to pay a 4th-round pick to dump him and adding him to the 326 to move up 8 spots to the 318. So, we'll see what happens if he could pull a Trubisky in Philadelphia and rehab his value. But nonetheless, he is a first-round quarterback contract, which will get interesting here in the next couple of years. But again, for 8 spots in the 3rd round, I'm not going to lose my mind about it. Jaden Reed for the Chicago backfield in the 131. This just classic Bengals. I don't want to move this asset unless I'm paid double for it, and I feel like that's what happened here.
I mean, yes and no. It kind of made sense, like because he had Swift. Like, I don't think anyone is putting Roshan and Herbert at a first value.
No, not individually.
But yeah, but when you also have Swift, just like, all right, so you just lock down the backfield, and yeah, you get a pick, and hopefully you can get the next one.
Yeah,
I'm saying I like this for Bengals. I think Jaden Reed. I like Jaden Reed most of any other receivers in Green Bay. Full stop.
Mhm.
That said,
Mm.
I like all 6 of those guys, and any of them in a given week is going to be the guy. Like Jaden Reed in the playoffs got 1 target in the first game, and they scored 56 points.
That's pretty crazy.
I want that so that I'm keeping that in mind when I value Jaden Reed. I like him most of any of the targets in Green Bay. But in a game they scored 56 points on the road in the playoffs, he got 1 target.
Yep. Yeah, when I see this happen, like I see a first in players, and I don't necessarily like that for Reed, but it's to have like the full backfield in Chicago. I like it a little bit more. I'm fine with both sides of it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he's definitely worth more than that late first.
Right.
Is it like 17, 18 range maybe? And like, does Roshan? It's really Roshan that gets you there. I think Herbert is more like a cap dump at this point.
I don't know if I'd say 17, 18, because at that point, then I think it necessitates 2 first round, like 2 late firsts in value. Like when you're right around that midpoint, maybe a little bit past.
Well, I think that's what Mike was kind of saying. Is he
Yeah.
kind of doubled up on the investment, or not
Right.
really? I don't know what he spent to get him, but he wasn't a drafter.
But like, yeah, if I don't know, let's call it the 122. Like if somebody paid the 122 for those running backs in 131, it seems fine. If they paid that for Jaden Reed, it seems fine. Like ultimately, it all feels perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Initial reaction, you're like, oh man, that's a really late first for a really good wide receiver.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it just made the most sense for Bengals because he had Swift.
Yep.
Yeah, I think we're talking around the same thing.
Yeah. So let's see. One of the things that I love about this is, coming from my position, I've made a lot of deals this offseason and moved and acquired first-round picks a lot of times, as you guys have said. But I feel like Pat's, every deal he makes is either him acquiring or him trading a first-round pick. And he's made like 30 to 40 deals this offseason. And it's like, wait, how do you keep making, or like where is your balance of first-round picks? Because you've spent and acquired the same picks like 3 times. Granted, I'm guilty of this too, but it's fun to kind of keep seeing Pat's deals. Like, wait, he just traded a first. Wait, he got a first back. What did he give one of the things he just got for the first? What just happened here? But nonetheless,
and some of them are literally the same first-round picks.
Yeah, they cycle through the same hands. It's going to be fun when you make the picks. If you go to Draft Report, it'll show all the hands that the pick has touched. Those are going to be kind of long this year.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of, I just traded all my 25 assets to get Rashee Rice. I had the 219 and 220 to turn him into the 105. I love Rice. I love him being a second-year guy attached to Mahomes. I also like Marquise Brown and potentially the receiver they take in the first 2 rounds this year. So I'm a little worried about some competition. I'd rather.
You're glossing over the fact that you got him too cheap.
We already talked about that.
Okay.
I'd rather have either the 3rd wide receiver or 2nd quarterback in this draft with the 105. I think that's going to be a more valuable piece for me. So I'm happy to turn him into that. But that said, those are 2 top 60 picks and pretty well-positioned receiver.
That's a solid deal for you. I really like that. I don't think Colts is too disappointed with getting Rashee Rice.
I don't think so either.
But yeah, I definitely would want that 105.
It's incredible. The amount of wheeling and dealing that's happened this week alone is just insane.
It's a bit much, but we'll get through it.
We're not even halfway through, guys.
I know.
Josh Palmer for 130. I feel like that late first is where he's been changing hands a couple times in the league, so that feels fine.
It's kind of incredible that he hasn't gained value.
It's gross the varying range that a late first round pick can get you. It can get you it can get you some of the best players in the league that are 31 years old, or you can get you some really questionable players that have never proven themselves.
But he's cheap, and he could be something.
He's
Right,
cheap
exactly.
this year only. Yeah. I
then-
like the acquisition though, because I think Pat's. I mean, I like the room he's building now on the receiver front. Like Reed, Palmer. There's one other guy that's pretty good. So I didn't hate. I think the value is fine. And if they do trade down or don't take a receiver at 5, I mean, Palmer's going to be just walking into. I mean, you're going to be running first, but there's going to be targets to be had.
He already proved it last year that he's the one whenever Wilson and whenever Allen and Williams aren't there. I don't understand why he's still so low now that they're actually both gone.
Because Quentin Johnston.
It's just also just different offense. It's going to be ridiculously different.
Yeah, it's going to be run heavy.
Yeah.
For all we know, they're going to take Joe Alt at 6.
I don't know if he's there at 6. But...
Is that some insider Pats knowledge?
No, he probably goes. He probably goes to the Cardinals.
They got what is it? Paris. What's his name from Ohio State?
Paris Johnson.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair.
But they need the other tackle spot. They released their other tackle.
You just want Martin Van Harrison Jr. to fall to the Giants.
Yep.
I mean, I would be okay.
I can't believe what I'm about to say. We literally had back-to-back Brock Purdy trades. We had 52 trades between last Monday's podcast and this Monday's podcast. And of that volume of 52, we somehow had back-to-back Brock Purdy trades.
We're at 4 with Brock Purdy involved at all right now.
Brock in the 214 for Jake Browning, Geno Smith, Juwan Johnson, Carl Brooks, Victor Nkandiche, Leonard Floyd, EJ Speed, Demondre Lenore, Elijah Molden. Again, you nailed it, RJ. It's the guy trading for Brock Purdy feels great because, hey, I've got Brock Purdy and I got rid of a bunch of shit that I couldn't use. The guy who just traded away Brock Purdy feels great because, hey, I got a starting quarterback and I got a bunch of shit I can use. Like Leonard Floyd looks like he's probably going to be a starting rotation guy for the Niners. EJ Speed, same. Are they expensive? Sure. But they've got some strong positions. And again, it's better use of that cap.
So I don't hate this as much as I initially thought. I still hate giving up the second, and I would have wanted more picks, another pick back, if I'm giving up Purdy. But
yeah, I also just with Geno getting double down, he's the guy. I was pretty happy to just take the $500,000 starting quarterback. And I viewed it as Keenan Allen 132 and 214 for Geno, Speed, and I think Juwan Johnson is somewhere in a second to third range.
I agree with that.
Expensive. So the pick was important for Pats to do it. And while I don't like giving up a middle second round pick, I was if I look at the overall cost of me acquiring a starting quarterback for Keenan Allen 132 and 214, I'm okay with that.
Right.
And like I said, these are back to back. So Pats was at least nice enough to leave the pieces he got in his Brock Purdy trade in the Brock Purdy trade, this time adding B.J. Ojulari for Justin Fields, Nick Chubb, Van Jefferson, Josh Reynolds, Mike Gesicki, Josh Uche, Cole Holcomb, Jamal Adams, 130, the Chiefs 25 first, and the Saints 25 third.
Yeah, I was a little salty that this trade happened right after mine. Just because, I mean, it was like 12 hours later. But like Bears did not approach me at all about Purdy, so it would have been nice to have that conversation. But I feel like it was a pretty decent return for Pats, but now he doesn't have a starting quarterback.
Well, for now. I mean, knowing him, that's going to change 3 times in the next week, just like it will for me. Not anymore. I'm going to have a starting quarterback for a while, hopefully. Please, God, let
I don't believe
stay
this.
healthy. What?
I don't believe it.
I hate
You're
everybody.
gonna sell them away.
Chiefs finally getting off of Jonathan Cooper. He's been trying to for the better part of the year, getting Efe Adoba, Jonathan Jones, and Bill's future second. Bucks gets a defensive starter on the edge. Chiefs gets a bunch of pieces in that future second. Josh Allen, part of my Brock Purdy trade, breaking down to Bryce Young, 107, and the Cowboys first next year. Cody Barton moving for 220 and Elijah Dotson.
Whoa. I want to slow clap Lions. I've been waiting for like 2 years for him to do something a little more aggressive, and getting Josh Allen for I think that's a fair price, assuming Bryce kind of sticks around in the league. But I love that for him. He has the cap space to afford the extension. He's got the cheap young receivers around him. He still needs to find himself a running back or two, but I'm really excited to see Lions trying to compete.
Lions still has Jerome Ford, doesn't he?
No,
Yeah, he still needs running backs.
I thought he traded.
Yeah. Ford did move. I don't know if he acquired him or he sold him, but
He sold Ford because he had Ford last year. He was selling Ford and Chandler. I got Chandler and someone else took Ford.
Okay, so he does not have any running backs, which I guess is an interesting situation to be in.
I mean, he's going to be able to move a receiver for a running back once we clear the draft, and he kind of starts to sort out who are the people to go shopping. I mean, shit, there's probably all but 3 backs you can get with Puka.
Puka.
3, I feel like it's even less.
He gets all of them.
Again, I feel like some people might say Brees or Bijan would not trade directly for Puka.
There you go, Bill. Go send that trade right now. Make it happen.
Yeah.
Ask for a 4th on top of Puka.
Hold on, no. At least 3/5.
The only way it gets done is if that 4th's in there.
You got to take all those bomb barrels.
You got to trade him for 3/5 so we can have a 3/5 compromise. All right. Dad jokes aside, Cody Barton for Elijah Dotson and the 220. B.J. Ojulari for Channing Tindall and 219. Colts is going shopping with some of his second-round capital. Chubb, Josh Reynolds, Jamal Adams, the Chiefs first and next year, and the Saints third next year for 132 and 303. Great buy by Cardinals as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Which is
Pats dumps $30 million in cap, which he needed to at this point. But so I guess, win-win.
Wasn't this the cap dump while we were all waiting on the Purdy taxi claim to be?
Yes. It was.
Or was that Sunday? Were we going through all that yesterday?
That was yesterday.
Okay.
I think.
So
yeah, because it was Colts who was making space with you to make that happen.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, when was that it was trying to aid and abet a theft like that? Let's see. Dolphins Dolphins making space to try and make a claim himself. Gaines and the 404 to dump his contract, $13 million. 132 for Keenan Allen and the 326. Nice buy for Pats. Then I move a bunch of pieces I bought for picks this year. In JSN, Andrews, and the Cowboys 25 first for 108 and 109. Probably overpaid a little bit. I was toying around with some offers here and flipped some things in and out and forgot to take the first out. Not saying that I shouldn't have done it, but I should have caught it because it was out there for at least 6 hours. So
what was it?
On me.
It was JSN, Andrews, and what?
The Cowboys first next year for 8 and 9.
Yeah, I don't know. I still feel like that's a pretty good return on your end.
You gave up way less to get all those pieces.
Yeah, with Lockett going back to Seattle, like I love JSN, the player, but I think his fantasy value is a bit capped as long as Lockett's there, and he signed a real a deal with at least 2 more years of money. So like theoretically, he's going to be wide receiver 3 in that offense, barring an injury.
I think they switch places by the end of the year, just due to age.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, Jason's really more of like a slot guy than an outside guy, but
that's fine. I mean,
not that Lockett's not.
Slot guy. He's the one, or he was anyway. Like it's all about targets and who throws the ball. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I think that it's fine. I think that 8 and 9 is a great return for this.
Yeah.
Let's see. 220 for the Chiefs 25 second and the Commanders 25 third. Dolphins is determined to trade all of his picks this year into 25 picks. I think he's trying to hit 60.
Can we talk about that strategy?
We already did we mention it on the pod? Yeah, we did.
How he doesn't think it's space.
Yeah, but go ahead.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you guys already talked about it and I missed it, then I don't want to rehash things. But I just I don't know. Putting all your eggs in one basket seems, being like the 25 draft class seems unwise, especially like you think about like cap year juggling, and he's going to be in a situation where he's going to be trying to pay like 3 picks to move up a couple of spots just to like fit contracts, and I don't know.
We talked about it. We were thinking that he was going to have to push out to 26.
Yeah, he's kind of like doing like the Saints, the inverse of the Saints in real life Saints strategy, pushing the problem into the future.
Or he's taken the Seahawks approach from here, that just acquiring future picks and then keep turning into more future picks, and then eventually it turns into the roster he's got now. It takes 4 to 6 years. Where were we? Pat's moving on TV and Wicks and the 130 for Tajay Spears. I feel like there's been a couple of times this year where it's a guy has a price that, hey, I don't want to move him, but I'll move him for X price, and that price keeps getting met. So that either means
30, honestly.
I hate this trade.
For who?
I don't think Tajay Spears is worth that.
Nope.
I mean, I think we're drastically overvaluing Tony Pollard. He looked horrible last year. And I mean, Dallas didn't want him back. I don't know. I think Spears could be he might not be like the starter, but like he's going to be the only one with explosiveness in the backfield.
Okay, so we trade stud wide receivers and late first round picks for kinda almost the start of running backs.
Wait, is Wicks a stud wide receiver?
I don't know. What did he do in the postseason when it mattered the most?
He's the wide receiver 3 in my opinion in Green Bay.
He's absolutely the wide receiver 4 or 5, but
he's like the wide receiver 1.5.
Yeah, it's Reed and Wicks as far as I'm concerned, and then Dobbs is up there as well. But Watson's a forgotten man.
Just because he's been injured.
Yeah, he's forgotten about. He's been replaced.
He's the most talented, I think, of the group, but just been injured.
Go earn your job back and stay on the field. That's what happens with injuries. You get replaced.
Well, I didn't realize the Wicks was a stud wide receiver. But
Well,
yes.
I mean, that's the thing. It's Wicks has potential of being good, or Dobbs is good, or Reed is a stud, or Musgrave is a must-own tight end, or Watson is the next Jordy Nelson. Like everyone is the guy in Green Bay, and for a game, anyone can be the guy. It's kind of like the New England backfield back in the day. Just give me the cheapest one.
Yeah. But still, even if 1 out of 4 weeks or 5 weeks, Wicks is the guy, I still want him more than I want a guy that's kind of the backup running back.
Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting. It'll be fun to see that one play out over the year.
Yeah, I think it was fine. I mean, maybe it's a little bit of an overpay if we're higher on Wicks than wide receiver 4, with like occasional boom bust.
Let's see
Potential.
who 130 turns into, and then we can judge this appropriately.
Yeah, well,
Fair.
Dude,
it's going to be
we're
Hakeem
podcasting about
Butler
our
or Cedric
dynasty
Tillman.
league. No part of our judgment is going to be appropriate.
No.
Come on now. We have to have realistic standards for ourselves.
Never.
All right. Cap dump. Chase Edmonds, Justice Hill, Dante Stills, Derek Forrest for the 325. So let's do the math. 8 million plus 17.8 million plus 12 million. Dear God.
I took like 50 or 60 million.
I mean, it might be the most expensive pick paid for a cap dump, but also potentially the most cap ever to be dumped.
Jesus Christ. I think that's 50 million.
The crazy part is I was still in on Purdy at that point too.
You then got a little bit of cap back. Daniel Jones in the 117 for Deion Jones.
Otis.
You notice? Oh, it looks like a. Sorry, I had something on my screen. It looked like a cutis on my screen because of. I don't know what the hell it is. Anyways,
Otis
Reed's
fourth.
220, 328, and the Ravens first. I would, if Daniel Jones wasn't involved, I feel like the 117 for that was a fair deal. So I feel like it's a little bit on the cheap side, but it all hinges on what happens with the 117 and is Daniel Jones even on the Giants to start the year.
Right.
Yeah, that's kind of a loose
I'm
one.
not going to stop Washington from taking a quarterback at 2 in this league or in real life, I suppose. But it gives them a backup plan just in case.
Then,
I think at
Dolphins-
least half of the people here would tell you he doesn't need a backup plan, so you didn't need to give him one for basically free. So.
We'll talk about that post-pod. Dolphins continues to sell mid to early picks in the rounds for picks in next year's round. 308 for Jets third next year and Jets fourth next year. 420 for 225 fifths. You're just going to collect them all. I mean, can anybody tell me how to access this portal? Because I've tried to send him picks in that round for some of his mid to early picks in that round this year, and I can't seem to unlock the code. So if anyone has the members only code that unlocks that portal, please send it to me. I would love to take advantage of this. My Honey app does not, unfortunately, pick it up for me.
It's all right, Mike. I'm riding that bench too, but I think it's because I offered him Deuce Vaughn one too many times.
Well, maybe we earned a spot on that bench. Keenan Allen, Trey Tucker, Enki Luvu, and 326 for Isaiah Simmons, 122 and 213. So basically 122 and 213 for a very productive receiver. Probably a good slot guy who is rising with potential, and Luvu, and a pick in the third. I think this is reasonable and gets the cap dump of Isaiah Simmons. So win.
Isaiah Simmons, how far he would have fallen.
As the person who drafted Isaiah Simmons, I concur.
I mean, he still has a job.
Not currently.
Oh no,
No.
I didn't know that.
No,
Oops.
he's not currently signed.
I thought.
No, because the Giants, they didn't pick up his 5th year, so they had him for last season, for the last year of his contract.
Well, I'm sure he'll sign somewhere.
He is fast, and he was like, I thought, like, just as a Giants fan, like he made an impact on the field with his speed. I'm surprised he doesn't have any kind of job yet.
I don't imagine he added much value to what I was giving up, but I did think he was employed.
All right. Like I said, special portal sale, 416 for 2 future 5ths, 332 for a future 4th and a future 5th.
I don't think you would have wanted part in any of those.
I think he would have sent 2 future 5ths for 416.
And I would have traded a
10 times out of
future
10.
4th and a future 5th for 332.
Yeah, I think.
Oh, okay, fair.
I think
fair.
It's a fair bet. I will always trade later year draft assets in future rounds for earlier rounds this year. So when they become available, if anyone would like my 26th, 4th, and 5th round picks for a 25 third, count me in.
Oh yeah. Oh, that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Russ East goes in a taxi theft. I'm glad you're on Giants. Again, this is not worth spending time on. But why is Carson Wentz worth these things?
No, it was not. Loose. It was just to make the quarterback swap. I just didn't want. Molden lost his job. I didn't want a $10 million corner who's a nickel corner. So I was just trying to free up some space. Get some players I didn't want on my roster.
So it was just purely a cap dump.
It was a cap dump, and then Wentz was just evil because he had a receiver, or he had 3 quarterbacks.
Okay, got it.
Nice.
Okay, good enough. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing something here.
Yeah,
again,
I know.
Those were 2 pieces that you got back in the Purdy deal, so I wasn't sure if that was cap dump associated or if they were.
I'm not gonna lie. I see value in Wentz because he's the backup to Stafford, who is brittle. Like, it's crazy.
He's the backup for now.
Yeah, I know, but still, he has value right now.
Yeah, until they draft like Spencer Rattler.
I thought it was interesting.
Well, they draft Spencer Rattler. I know he's job safe.
He is not currently signed. He is an unrestricted free agent.
Yeah, man, these depth charts suck right now. Some people are not doing their jobs, regardless of what site you look at.
So,
again, to me, it was more of just a legal. I didn't want Jaron Hall, and I don't remember who his other one was, but I wasn't interested either. So it was just I took the 1 year, minimum price guy. It was purely a cap dump.
Yep.
It was like a $20 million dump. It's like not irrelevant.
All right. Starting safety 4th and 5th for Amari DeMarcado and a 3rd. I think this is fine.
Yeah.
Niners wanted to consolidate picks, so I moved 228 for 313, 413, 513, 518, and 523. You know how I love my 5th round picks.
Yeah, I don't hate it.
So, again, I made a mistake this afternoon because I was telling the commish to process the previous trade, but then right above it, I saw Bill make a comment about a 3rd challenge. And you know me, I like to talk about chaos in general in the offseason. So I post chaos Elmo, and then I notify the commissioner of my trade with the 49ers. Well, apparently that sent the chat into a just booing frenzy because God forbid I put Chaos Elmo out there and not make a league. It was a crazy ass trade. So Bears and I discussed something like this. So we pulled the trigger. Bryce Young, Austin Hooper, Von Miller, Jordan Poyer, and Harrison Smith for Brock Purdy, the 25 third from the Bears, the 25 third from the Ravens. Purdy's back with me after a very eventful week. Bears has a good young quarterback to build around, and all is right with the world. In all seriousness, please do not send me offers for Purdy. I do not want to trade him. Moving forward,
So
we have
I'm not going to lie on this one. I don't understand how Bears recouped the value that he lost to acquire him in this deal. That was his whole thing, was I want to recoup the value that I lost. I don't see it.
I think Bryce has lost a lot of value from where he was taken in drafts last year. But that said, I think with the trade with Deontay Johnson, with Mingo, with a better offensive coordinator, who I guess is a quote quarterback whisperer, all sorts of stuff. There's a path to redemption story for him, and he's going to get at least 2 more tries this year and next to try and make something happen. So if I were to price him, like I'm not going to take him over J.J. McCarthy or any of the top 4 quarterbacks, but would I take Bryce Young over Penix or Nix?
Yeah, I would for sure.
Yeah.
I'd value him as like the 115 right now.
Exactly. So kind of in that mid-first range.
Yeah. And again, I mean, it's so like when you just hear the names, it's like, oh, it's like Purdy for Bryce, but like it's Purdy and half your cap this year. And if he hits Pro Bowl, which he did last year, then it goes up.
I love that. I love that for Bears. Like if you take Brock Purdy out of like his name out of the trade that he made for Purdy and put in Bryce Young, like I love it. Amazing. You know, he's on the right track. So I think this is a fine trade for Bears.
Yeah.
Yep. And Barry starts breaking down some of the pieces he had. He grabbed Chuck Clark after the injury last year and held him. Now flips him into F.A. Adoba, Rodney Thomas, and Russ Yeast. Yeast, who was just stolen. I think Obata, who was off of free agency. So
Rodney Thomas, didn't he just get a job yesterday?
I don't know. This is a cap dump from Chiefs for sure.
Yeah. Oh no, maybe it's a different Rodney.
I mean, it's not really a cap dump though. Like Chuck Clark is a starting safety. I think. Like, does anyone turn around something he got for free for at least pennies better than Goose? My God.
Oh, what is this one?
and then
The last one.
Yeah.
Dolphins Tech.
I just refreshed and I hadn't seen it there.
Steelers 25 third, Texans 25 fourth for Davis Allen and Darnell Washington. Okay, no
I
shit.
don't hate that at all. That's so cheap.
For what?
For
For
offensive lineman number 6?
Yeah.
No, I don't hate that at all.
I love Darnell Washington, but I think he's like one of the better blocking tight ends in the league. I don't see him as...
But for all, we don't know what's going to happen with Art, right? Well, for all we know, they're going to run 2 tight ends, and that's going to be fantastic for Darnell. Davis Allen might be the starting tight end in some capacity, or at least partially. We don't know. But, I mean, a third and a fourth is nothing.
I mean, yeah, I think like the late, future, mid to late third for Darnell is like fine value. I just like personally don't see much fantasy upside with Darnell Washington. I think in real life he's a player any team would love to have.
Right.
I think Darnell's
you're just going to be hoping that he's like a red zone package guy and he falls into a couple of touchdowns throughout the year.
Exactly. His upside is very capped whenever Pat is still there. If Pat is traded or not re-signed after the season, then he'll be better. But I don't know. For all we know, they take a guy like Jatavian Sanders, and it doesn't matter at all.
So who was I know it's been like 7 years of it, but who was the first tight end that killed Brevin Jordan's height? The blocking tight end, and he caught like 6 or 8 touchdowns in a year. Darren Fells.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
That's Darnell Washington. He's gonna stay on a team for like 4 or 5 years as a really good blocker, and there might be some years where people go, "Oh, we forgot he could catch," and then he becomes a really good red zone target.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone's like thinking he's tight end 1 for a team.
No.
But like he's a fine tight end 2 or 3 in best ball. Where like, great, he's gonna have like maybe a random like 2 touchdown game 1 week, and that's gonna be all you need him to do.
the fun of best ball.
The type of league that we're in.
Was that a
Oh,
question about what best ball is?
No, I said the fun of best ball. Like
Oh, the fun of best ball. Okay,
I
yeah.
thought you said I thought you said define best ball.
no, sorry, sorry.
What do you mean?
What random point are you trying to make here, Bill?
Yeah.
Have you been submitting your lineup every week, Bill? For 4 5 years?
Oh, man.
Well, we made it through the trades, which
Yeah.
is,
Are we doing anything else?
I mean,
We're an hour in right now. So, what do you guys think? Move into the power ranks or save that for next week and make a clean break?
Save that to next week so we can like I didn't get to do it, so
Okay.
yeah, we got an hour. We
Let's
can
do this weekend.
let's try to move Brock Purdy again.
No, these monsters. All right, we'll try and make other trades here, but appreciate you listening. And if you guys do anything league shattering, we might jump back on midweek and do an emergency pod. But I think as we learned last week, earth shattering things that happen on Monday and Tuesday tend to get themselves reversed by the end of the week. So maybe we should just relax, stay calm, and make more